Good evening, Internet. Hey, how y'all doing? Y'all doing good? Y'all doing great? Good. Today we're talking about Arachnid from 2001, which is a movie that takes place in Guam, which is where I currently am for the time being. It's beautiful here, but boy, I tell you what, if this happens here while I'm here, I'm gonna take... I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm not gonna do what any of these people did. I'm not going to fight a fucking alien spider. This one, you almost feel like it should be Spiders 3, because since none of them connect, this one was better than Spiders 2. Honestly, and it's also an alien spider, so it even makes sense if it was called Spiders 2, because at least it's an alien spider, because Spiders, it was an alien spliced with a spider. But you know what? Let's get into this movie. But before we do, we always have to mention thank you over to W Energy for sponsoring the Oddcast and helping us, with whatever, and go over, check them out, use code Oddcast, save yourself a little money. They constantly have deals going on like bundles and different things, and they're constantly putting out new flavors. I think one of their newest flavors was like blue raspberry lemonade kind of thing. So, go check them out and tell them we sent you by using code Oddcast. So anyway, this movie begins with a jet fighter who's flying over testing out a new top secret stealth fighter. And he runs into what they called at the time a UFO, or what they'd call now a UAP. But, it just kind of appears, and it's like a Predator ship because it's just fucking invisible. Like, it has like the cloaking system going on. But it electrifies the system, and he ends up having to eject. It crashes into the ship, and he lands down on a nearby island close to Guam. And then the ship crashes, so the pilot ends up wandering out, and he runs into an alien who looks kind of like fucking Mac and Me, but as a hologram, mixed with some other kind of alien, but it's a weird-looking thing. But then it gets killed by some kind of spider it was transporting, and then it kills the jet pilot, and we get a title card of Arachnid. But then we cut over back to Guam on an airfield, where we get introduced to our main character, Mercer, and she's a local pilot, and, she's just kind of doing maintenance, but then she heads over to the local hospital, and we find a guy who's dying of some kind of something. And our other main characters, Dr. Leon and Nurse Susanna, they come out and they talk about, this young tribal man, he got bit by something. We're not sure what, but he's not looking too great. And they're like, so what are you doing here? And she's like, well, I had some guy named Valentine who wanted to talk to me. And then we get introduced to Valentine and one of our other people, Towboy. I wish I was making up what they call this man, but his name is Towboy, and he's one of the local village tribals that will be a part of this story. But anyway, we get introduced to Valentine, and he's all like, yeah, I need a pilot to help me take over to one of the nearby islands, because that's where these tribal people are from, and we need to try to figure out what's going on with them, blah, blah, blah. Then we cut back over to the airfield and we meet Dr. Henry Capri, who's an entomologist, and he's being brought along because if it's a spider bite, as the people keep telling them, then he's the guy who's going to be able to help identify what it is, and if it's a new species, he wants to be there to discover it. And then the rest of the team shows up, which is Baron Reyes and the other tribal villagers that are from the village, and they're all going to help lead them back to where they have to go. And Mercer questions Valentine about, like, why do we have so many guns? Why the arsenal? And he's all like, well, I feel safer if I have more guns. And good for him, because these will all prove very fucking useful very quickly. But, they get on their way, they start approaching the island, and, Mercer, as a good pilot, tries to circle around the island about, like, all right, let me try to find a spot to land, but then something causes the plane's power to just abruptly fucking cut out, and she tells everyone buckle in and hold on, because I'm gonna have to try to do a crash landing with this thing, which they do it on the beach, and everyone's safe for now, but she checks over the engine after they crash, and she's like, no, everything's fine. I don't understand why all the power cut. Nothing seems to be damaged, but whatever. But they start gathering some gear. They try using the radio, but of course, as any horror movie, the radio's not quite working. But Dr. Capri decides he's going to venture off, and he's going to, see if he can find anything, which he does end up finding a spider and collecting it, but then something decides to check him out. But thank God Reyes comes in like fucking Rambo.
Stop! Stop! Stop!
What's going on? We're okay. Coming back in. Hey, Doc. What the hell was that thing?
Now we'll never know, will we?
Come on, Doc. Come on.
I'm not a little child.
Sorry, the big meeting. You're invited, okay?
I have to collect my equipment.
Go. Go.
Careful!
Come on.
Yeah, nobody noticed the thing that drops from the cliff, but, whatever. Nobody noticed the spider thing. But that night at the campfire, Dr. Leon he's getting all pissy about the crash landing, and he starts making shit with Mercer about, we should have been able to land, so we had to wait to leave, fucking pilot. And everybody's kind of pissed off, but Valentine stands up for it, and he's like, the only reason you're alive is because she was able to do that. But one of the tribesmen, he has some kind of piece of clothing that catches Mercer's attention, and she's like, where'd you get this? And they just point and say that they got it from in the jungle, like on their village. And Valentine starts talking about hey, you should probably come with us. And she's like, yeah, I've kind of gotten a reason to tag along with you in the morning instead of sticking with the plane and trying to fix it. So in the morning, Towboy and his fellow tribesmen, they lead him back to their village. And, they're going along. Everything's fine. Until Reyes starts getting attacked by overly large ticks. So they all have to take a break to... But while they do, Mercer's like, I'm going to use the bathroom, but she doesn't really tell anybody, so Valentine goes and checks on her and kind of walks in on her while she's using the bathroom and then feels awkward, but it's at the same time, Mercer could have fucking said something about what she was actually going to do, just fucking say something. But, while she's walking back, she ends up falling into a hole and gets about waist deep in, and she can't quite get out, and something starts attacking her foot.
Inside of that hole.
Oh, I think there's something in here.
Oh, well, don't piss it off.
Oh, something's in my foot. Hang on. Get me out of here. Get me the fuck out of here now. There. Get me the fuck out of here.
And you gotta love that Bear just comes in to help and is like, fuck whatever that thing is, and he just lights that fucking hole up like nobody's business. They get Mercer's boot back, but then they have to rush back because Reyes starts screaming. And while they get back, they realize that the ticks, they took some of them off, but others kind of buried themselves under his skin, and we can see them moving. And Dr. Capri's baffled. He has no idea why. He's like, no, normally they just engorge themselves and then they would release. There's no reason they would be doing that. And Dr. Leon gets all fucking pissy at him and he's like, well, you're supposed to be our fucking entomologist. How can you not know what's going on? God damn you, man. Which, Dr. Capri ends up running off. Or walking away. He's pretty irritated by the whole thing. But Mercer goes and catches up with him and she's like, hey, not everybody's always going to have all the answers. If that's not something you've ever seen, then I don't know why they expect you to have the fucking answers. But anyway, Mercer ends up pulling him, gets him back, and they take him over to the hole, and they're like, so what is it? And he's like, well, these are definitely spider webs, but I don't understand, because this is quite a big hole. And Valentine talks about, well, this was an island used during World War II by the Japanese, so maybe it's just a tunnel that they had made, and some spiders had some webs on it. And they're like, well, I guess that's possible, yeah. But the team keeps moving on. They got to try to reach the village before nightfall. And, they do manage to get there. But everyone's gone. And it looks like everyone left in a hurry. There's, spilled baskets and things. And they're like, well, this doesn't seem quite right. And while they're here, they start treating Reyes. And we get some Mercer and Valentine. And Mercer ends up telling Valentine, like, hey, I know I've been really snippy this entire time. Really, the thing that the guy was wearing, that's something that my brother had, and I think he might have I think he might be somewhere on this island. She doesn't go into detail of how he would be on the island, but she's like, I've been looking for him, I think he might be here. But then they end up hearing Reyes starting to scream, and the Ticks decide to make a comeback.
No, please. Please.
Samuel, do something.
Yeah, thank God Bear's like, I'm not gonna let my man suffer like that, and he blows his fucking brains out, because, that's a mercy right there. Poor dude. But as night falls in, we see some rather large, unusual centipedes come to the party, and Towboy runs under rescue, ends up rescuing Mercer, who went off to go try to use the bathroom again. And he comes in, starts swinging his machete, and he's like, no, there's something fucking here, man. But one of the other tribesmen gets pulled away and ends up getting bit. And Towboy ends up rescuing him, but everyone back inside the village, they end up getting kind of raided by a bunch of them. And it raises more questions of what the hell is going on. But in the aftermath, Dr. Capri ends up examining one of them, and he finds that it has reptilian qualities in its centipede-like body. And he goes, it's weird, it's just not normal. It's mutating to be two different things. And Valentine tells Bear, he's like, hey, you're going to head to higher ground in the morning, try to get signal to send out kind of radio for an evac. And he tells everyone, like, we're going to go back to the plane. Bear's going to go try to make sure he can get a signal at higher ground. So morning comes, Bear heads off, loaded up. He's just ready to take on the entire fucking jungle. And he takes one of the tribesmen with him who's going to show him where some higher ground is. And everyone else starts heading back to the plane. And Valentine ends up telling Mercer, like, hey, I hope you find your brother. And we find out that he was missing 10 months ago. And she explains the whole testing a jet, and he was presumed pilot error and MIA. But everyone heads back. But Dr. Capri ended up venturing off on his own to get samples, because fucking entomologist got an entomologist. And then we see Bear getting attacked inside of a river. His native guide ends up getting killed, but Bear survives. But we go back to Dr. Capri, who stumbles upon one of the dead centipedes, and turns out he's in a spider's den, and doesn't go well for him.
This is it. Dying ecosystem. A mutant. The mutant. Prominent arachnoid and reptilian features. A predator of enormous potential. Incorrectly adapted for the environment. Appears to be destroying its own habitat. Why? Huh?
But then we cut back to the main group, and as they're walking, they actually find the remains of Mercer's brother, and he's all webbed onto a tree, and she gets all upset, but they continue on, and they find Dr. Capri survived. He's just cocooned and filled with eggs now. And he talks about that, it's some kind of spider-like thing, it injected something into me, and I can't feel anything. And I'm filled with eggs, so you can't cut me out, because my insides they're fucked. And he starts coughing up a bunch of blood, and he's like, kill me, just fucking kill me, please. So they give him an injection as a mercy killing of like, yeah, we'll make sure you don't feel anything, man. Like, that's fucked. And he talks to Mercer about, yeah, I need you to take all my stuff, and this new spider species, I want it to be named after me. And she's like, I'll make sure. And also, he does mention, like, yeah, no, these things are adapting the way that they are. The only thing that could do this is some kind of alien trying to breed and, like, fucking habitate this island, whatever. I don't know how he comes to the conclusion of an alien, maybe because of how the spider looks, of, like, it doesn't look like any normal thing ever, and it's giant. But anyway, the spider ends up coming back, so, that doesn't work out great for anyone. They all panic and start running. Dr. Leon gets got because, he made a wrong turn. Susanna gets caught in some webs, but they use liquid nitrogen that's on them to, freeze and break off the webs and get her free. And they continue to run, and they find an old abandoned World War II, building. And they use it for shelter to get away from the spider and do a head count, realize Towboy is also missing. He also got separated from everyone. But then, they're running low on ammo, and that's unfortunate, because the spider comes a-knocking. So yeah, they save Valentine there. He gets bit. They re-barricade up the window. Susanna starts looking over Valentine. She's like, it's not very deep, but I don't know about any venom or anything of that nature. And as the night sets in, they're all just kind of trying to relax, and Valentine starts getting a fever, and Mercer's reading Capri's spider book, trying to figure out what they might be able to do. And she says, well, they are susceptible to poisons and toxins. And he's like, well, we'd have to get really close for that. I don't know about that. But the spider makes its way in, so they have to run into a back room, and they get locked in. But Susanna starts to fucking panic, because it turns out Susanna doesn't like small rooms, and she doesn't like big spiders. But as soon as she hears that it might be gone, she freaks out and is like, I gotta get out of here, it's gone! And she gets eaten.
Take it easy. It's not out there. Okay, great. Now take it easy. For God's sake, I can't. We cannot stay here. Yes, we can,
No,
Susanna.
I'm telling you, it's gone.
For God's sake,
Yeah, you dumb bitch. It's a horror movie. Never trust that there's no noises outside the door. But Mercer and Valentine manage to close the door again, and they find a hatch, and they go down into an underground tunnel and make their escape, which they do manage to, but Mercer has to take a break. She's like, I'm just fucking exhausted, man. But in her sleep, she has a nightmare that her brother turns into a fucking alien spider. Like, fucking just terrible. But she wakes up to see Towboy and Bear, who happen to find them. Towboy start following their trail, and they leads it right to him, obviously. And they're like, you know what? We gotta kill this fucking thing. Like, this thing needs to die for killing my brother and killing everyone that we came with. And Towboy and Bear agree. Bear's like, well, why do you think I'm here? And he, cocks his gun. He's like, I'm ready to fucking kill. So they leave Valentine back in the tunnel. And they give him a gun. They're like, hey, use this, blah, blah, blah. And they continue down the tunnel because there was a fork in the road, and they take the other way. Turns out it leads them to the cave with the spider's true den. And they find that the creature's in a cocoon molting with a large-ass sum of eggs. So Mercer climbs up to try to see what's going on with it. And she's like, it'll be weaker when it comes out because molting makes them weaker. And, the thing decides to merge, and it kills Bear and fucking up everything. Towboy gets trapped. But then he throws his poison bottle over to Mercer, and she smashes it on the thing's face, and it just freaks, kind of works out for him there. But then when Mercer's running away, she trips and falls. And when she wakes up, she's getting all webbed up. But don't worry, because Valentine decided, fuck that, I'm going to help. And he comes running in with Towboy, and they come to the rescue, and they start hitting up the spider. Towboy shooting it with poison darts, and Valentine shooting it. And Mercer starts trying to break free. But the spider's all like, fuck this shit, I just want my meal in peace, goddammit. So it tries dragging her away. But thanks to the poison darts, she's able to pull him off and slams right down and ends the spider.
fucking way!
Yeah, fuck that spider. That's revenge for my brother, you son of a bitch. So they all stumble out of the cave and everything's happy-go-lucky. You know, they're gonna get off. They're gonna figure out how to get off the island and everyone's fine. But then, uh-oh, not all of them are dead. Dun, dun, dun!
Is he dead?
Yeah, it's dead. Okay. Come on, let's get the hell out of here.
And that's the end of that movie. That is Arachnid from 2001. Might as well be called Spiders 3, because at least, it has more to do with an alien spider than what Spiders 2 did. And it came out the same year, so I almost want to say this was going to be a sequel, but then they didn't do that. But anyway, I'm Jokeypants. This has been interesting. Next time, we're going to be talking about a movie that really pisses me off, and I'm not excited that I rewatched it. I rewatched it, and I hated it just as much as I remember fucking hating it. Boy, I'm not excited to talk about it, but boy, you're going to hear me fucking lose my shit on that fucking movie. But until then, remember, don't gene splice animals, don't bring things back from the dead, don't try to splice in alien DNA, stop dumping chemicals down into the sewer, stay out of the water, but most of all, stay odd, stay happy, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Did you fucking imagine, like, a spider alien